All of a sudden, people start looking in the back. This kid drops into a full grand mal seizure. Someone screams out, "Don't worry, Will's here." And I run back to the church. Yeah. And now this entire church is staring at me. I held this kid, praying for him, and the ambulance takes him away. As soon as he got into the ambulance, he stopped seizing.
You know what I love about that? That it was you and not me. No.
Will Hart is a minister and podcaster based in Nashville, Tennessee. He is the CEO for Iris Global, an international missions organization founded by Heidi and Rolland Baker.
Some of the craziest miracles that I've seen haven't taken place when I've prayed for them. There was one guy in New Zealand, and he goes, "I cut my arm off with a chainsaw." He pulls back his sleeve, and his arm is emaciated. They connected it back with metal. I haven't been able to raise my arm up more than this. When you said lift your hands up for prayer, I went and stretched my hands out. He goes, "I can't feel the metal plate anymore."
That's the value of community.
At the end of the day, the people that want community find it. And biblical community, not just community where you're getting fed what you want, but where you get challenged, where you get iron sharpening iron. You can find it. It might not be the same age bracket, demographic. It doesn't matter, but you can find community. And I'm oversimplifying. Now, I'm sure someone's watching. It's no, I've been trying to get community, and everywhere I go, I get rejected. I think at the end of the day, if you really want community, you need.
Welcome to Radical Radio with Robby Dawkins. Robby is a renowned speaker and equipper in over 70 countries, as well as author of international best-selling book, Do What Jesus Did. Here's your host, Robby Dawkins.
Hey, it's Robby Dawkins. Welcome to Radical Radio, and I have the Will Hart. This guy, I'm telling you what, he is incredible, super and radical. That's why he's on this program. Today, we're going to hit all kinds of stuff. We're going to be talking about staying in community as yourself, as ministry people, being in community in all sorts of ways, going through difficult times of being in community, going through good times of being in community. It's going to be good. We're going to be talking about what is it like to lead missionaries. I mean, this guy does all that. It's incredible. He's also the CEO of Iris Global, which is an incredibly honorable position. That incredible ministry that Heidi and Will and Baker started. Anyway, this is going to be incredible. You don't want to miss it. We're going to get into some miraculous testimonies that are going to blow your mind. So this is it. You're going to love it. Hit like, hit share,
hit subscribe.
Hit subscribe
to Radical Radio, not Green
Radical Radio. Dude.
Hey.
First of all, let me just say, I am a massive Will Hart fan.
Ooh.
I do. I love you, man. Loved you from the beginning. We were in one of the movies together. We've been in I think we've been in almost all of them.
Did you do Finger of God?
Furious Love.
Yeah, so I did Furious Love.
Furious Love. I was a bleep on the screen in Finger of God.
Yeah.
Because Darren had asked me to do it, but then we were going to do something else that, of course, that he had no budget for whatsoever. He was borrowing money. I think.
Felt like that was everything.
That was every movie. Yeah, this is true.
No.
And so, so I was in it, but just very, very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Furious Love was where both of us were.
Yep.
And I remember I reached out to you because I was so excited when I saw your part. I was like, I texted you and I said, because I asked Darren for your number. I said, hey, it looks like we do the same thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware you were at Global.
Okay.
With Randy Clark's Global Awakening. And so I think I reached out like that, and you were probably like, who's this weirdo?
Were you at the Furious Love event? I don't remember.
Yeah, no. And then we did sort of a shortened version at Global. You did.
Oh, gosh.
You put on a shortened...
Dude, I was on Ambien for a couple of years in there, so there's a lot that I just...
You did like a mini of that there.
Yeah.
And it was great. I was there for that too.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's where I actually got to hear you preach and got to laughed my butt off as you're just a hilarious man.
I feel like I'm not funny anymore when I preach.
Oh, stop.
No. I'm actually not being self-deprecating, serious. I've stopped as much as I used to.
You've matured.
I don't know. I don't know if it's maturity
metamorphosis, just
I don't know.
Growth.
I don't know, dude. I legit don't know. It's something I've been thinking about lately. I was like, I used to, I think
you'll still make me laugh though.
Well, part of it was I had so many messages that I would repeat.
Right.
And so you get it down. In fact, there isn't any closer, in my opinion, parallel than stand-up and itinerant ministry. Like their jobs are the same thing.
So true.
Same thing. live on planes, get up in front of people.
Yeah.
You know when you're doing it good. You know when that they don't like what you're saying. You have to come up with new material. If you keep doing the same material year after year, you become irrelevant. Like it's funny. There's a parallel. All that being said, when you do messages over and over again, you like get a rhythm. I know what makes people laugh and I know what doesn't. So I've done this thing recently where I'm trying to preach almost a new message every time I get up.
Well, and now you're actually in
and
a
it's
pastoral.
Depressing people. Yeah.
Stop.
So they're just like, ugh.
You're actually in a pastoral role now.
I am helping. I'm helping a church.
Come on, it's pastoral.
Yeah.
But you're actually.
Well, part of my role in Iris is, I would say, mildly pastoral. Because we have 500 missionaries.
But I mean, in the sense from standing up in front of preaching every week type of pastoral role in that sense.
Yeah.
And that's a new role for you, really. You haven't pastored before. You pastored people.
Yes.
But standing up
in front of a
yes.
church continuously.
Yeah.
Yes. That is a new thing, which I'm doing. On and off.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I'm not like, I'm serving a pastor right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I love because I love your heart in that, because especially of the person that's very, very dear to me that you're doing this for. And
we can say who.
No, I know Larry Randolph. Yep. People who know Larry Randolph, and he was kind of labeled, but really wasn't. He kind of got labeled as one of the Kansas City prophet guys, but he was truly kind of where I think he got on the radar mostly was Toronto, I think. But he had also been in the Vineyard.
Yeah, he's just been around.
Bethel. He was at Bethel.
He's just been around forever. 60 years he's been in ministry.
I love the guy.
And I've just been serving him this last year and a half. We've been friends for a while, almost 16 years. But I've been helping him at his church.
Yeah.
And I love it. We do Wednesday nights. If you're in Franklin, Tennessee, on a Wednesday night, 6:30 to usually 10 or so is when we end. And Larry and I will sit up there on just do this.
That's so good.
We'll pick a topic and go into the Word, and then usually, every night, there's been some form of ministry.
Sure.
And it's so much fun watching, a father in the prophetic, like legit, humble, like minister over people. I've learned so much about the prophetic. I have a whole list of just Larry quotes on my phone. That's amazing. He sits there and just has these nuggets. 60 years of ministry.
I know.
Yeah.
He's like an institution. He gave me a prophetic word at Randy Clark was doing a conference in St. Louis.
Okay.
This was during the Toronto early. So this would have been maybe 95, towards the end of 95. It was King Henry VIII Hotel, I think it was the name of it, in St. Louis. Something awesome. Like that. It's probably not even standing any longer. And it was I had seen Larry on videos in Toronto with Mark DuPont, but I had never seen Larry live. And the first night, Larry gets up and he points over this direction, points where I'm sitting, and he said, medication thyroid. And he goes, you're right over here. You're on thyroid medication. And he was like literally pointing right at me, but I'm like way in the back.
Wow.
And he's pointing right at me. And I was on thyroid medication. And I had been on thyroid medication for, at that time, I think about 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And he says, come up here. And as I'm walking up, he just like lays out my life. Like literally all this stuff. I won't go into it here. I've talked about it before, and I think it's somewhere on YouTube. But literally goes and says a massive thing that really kind of broke a curse off my life in that moment.
Come on.
Like all of this he goes, am I right? Am I right? Am I right? And I'm like, yes. Yeah. And then just takes his hand and throws it like that. And it was like a fireball hit me in the gut.
Yeah.
And I just go down.
Come on.
And was down for the rest of the thing. There's
something that I've watched him do 50 times, 100 times over the years. And it still shocks me when I see it now. He'll call out I've watched him do it where he'll spin and point at someone and call out their middle name.
Wow.
Like multiple times.
Yeah.
And like the first time I saw him do it, I said, Larry, like how, why? Like, and he goes, I asked God if I was ever going to get something with names, that it would be people's middle names. Because you can do a first name and a last name on a registration for an event. And he goes, and I knew that could be looked up. And I never wanted people to doubt. So Lord, if you give me a name,
Wow.
will you please let it be a middle name?
Wow.
And
That's
I've watched
amazing.
him spin around, just point at people and tell them their middle names like time and time again. And that's just a word of knowledge. That's not the prophetic, and then give him the most beautiful.
Just a selection.
Yeah, just
He's
the most
selecting this
beautiful, beautiful words.
It's incredible.
He moves in a lot of his words. I've learned so much. They're not shocking,
Yes.
but they're insanely accurate. There's a culture, at least in the prophetic movement, where it's like, for it to be accurate, it's got to be like bang, like Larry, it's literally just like a father encouraging their son or their daughter,
Yeah.
but afterwards, I get to meet with people afterwards, and they're like, that changed my life. Larry did it. One of the first times I met him, I just got back from Mozambique, and we didn't know each other at this point, but we heard he was speaking. We were living in North Carolina. We drive to this church, I don't know, an hour away. He was ministering out in North Carolina, where he was living there as well. And we show up at this church, and he's walking up the platform, and he spins around and points at me, and didn't know him at this point. And he says, "You're going to be known as a father." Wow. And I see all around the world, all of these little like bases, these houses, these homes all over the world, and you're gonna be known as a father to all of these homes around the world. And that was, my daughter was 1, so that was 17 years ago.
Incredible.
And 10 years ago, I took the place of Iris, where now I help all of these 72, 73 locations around the world now.
Wow.
And I sow into them and help lead with Heidi and Rolland Baker. And like, it just, I look now and I have more confidence in where I'm at, what the Lord's doing, because of those moments, those words.
Yeah, they kind of hold you.
Yeah, I'm like,
in.
I'm exactly
Yeah.
where I'm supposed to be.
And so you said something just right before that. You said, and I want to come back to that
Whatever you want.
with the prophetic, but you said something right before that. You said something about pastoring missionaries. Like, what's that like? How does that work?
I don't know. Well, first of all, I'm not their pastor, but
you're pastoring them. Pastoral care.
how do you, it's like, I would imagine, I have nothing else to compare it to really, because it's like all I've done, my friends are all missionaries, and I've been in the missions work, most of my life.
Yeah.
On and off, but the last 10 years, 100%.
Met your wife on the field.
Yeah, I met my wife on the field. So imagine like pastoring 10, like a company of 100 CEOs. Like, they're all driven. They're all like passion. Like, you want to talk about passion? You have no idea what passion is until you see someone, well, this, who's like willing to die, like on the field. Yeah. And so like their line isn't like, oh, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. It's like, I'm going to die for this. And I don't care what anybody says. It is easier than what you think, but it's also more challenging in some aspects, because most of the time it's not dealing with like sin or discipleship. It's more like,
that's cool.
Hey, love your wife more. Love, not that they don't. Like, this is it's hard, because I don't know any of our missionaries that like don't passionately love their spouses, passionately love their kids, passionately love the lost. It's more like character. It's more like, hey, slow down a little bit. Which is fun. It's fun to mentor people in that aspect, but it's rarely is it about like faith or I don't know, the little things like, oh, marriage issues, or the marriage issues are never, we want to like leave each other. It's like the marriage issues are like, hey, they're spending, we're working too much, or oh, we need more time together, because all of our time's going to serve the poor, the sick, the needy, and the broken, and they really are like saving lives. So how do you navigate? Should we save another life, or should we go on date night? Like, it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fun.
Balance.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And it is unique.
That's cool.
Hey, Greater Denver, Colorado. I'm Robby Dawkins. We are coming to Longmont, Colorado, July 30th through August 2nd. And I'm excited to be in the northern part of Denver where we're going to doing our ACT school, which is our kingdom training school that we do throughout the Muslim world and throughout closed nations in healing, prophetic deliverance, ministry of manifest presence, resurrection power, all for the purpose of bringing people into a relationship of Jesus Christ. These are things that we don't only just want to teach about, but we want to activate you. So we want to encourage you, come and get equipped. Let's see Denver get lit with the power of the Holy Spirit and people coming to Jesus like never before. Come and join us at Acts Denver, and that's going to be July 30th through August 2nd. Go to akts.global. You do not want to miss it. Let's get empowered and let's see Denver lit up for Jesus.
I don't know.
And if I could, then jumping back to, and there's just stuff coming to my head as
whatever.
There's no list.
Dude,
here.
I have no agenda.
Everybody knows this about our program. There's no list of things. But, we were talking about Larry, talking about prophets, and then talking about character. Mm-hmm. We're kind of in a crisis right now where we've seen some like people that we thought were like super, super accurate prophets that have been like pretty clearly getting exposed as, using inside information. And we've talked about that in segments here. I don't think we've ever named names or anything like that, but just said, this is a call back and to staying pure, staying with that and not trying to be impressive.
Yeah.
And tell me, like, with that, it sounds like I'm getting away from that question by what I'm about to say. Tell me, because you, first of all, again, you're a great communicator. You really are, bro. You're a great communicator.
Okay.
And you like really have clear gifting, keeping the balance, like of getting sort of, because pretty early on, the guys at Global recognized your gifting and sort of, and you were out, in Brazil on stage doing things. You were out. How do you keep that balance of, or what keeps the balance of jumping into superstardom in sort of the Christian sphere and keeping your feet on the ground? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think. Listen, I don't. Everybody's on their own journey. Praise of man is addictive.
And see, that's why I mentioned the prophet things, because you want to be impressive. I mean, that's sort of the bait.
Yeah, I think everybody. I've never met anybody in ministry that when they started, they're like, "Man, I'm gonna like crush it and become uber famous." In their starting years, I think something starts off really pure, and then struggles enter in. I've learned a lot from Heidi in this aspect, because Heidi is so well known globally.
Yeah.
But I've watched her stay pure. I've watched her and Rolland. I've watched them keep the main thing, even with opportunity. First of all, man, there's a lot of aspects I can hit on this, so I will stay in track. Tell me to come back to Heidi and Rolland and how they've stayed pure.
Sure.
You've spent some time around athletes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We've both spent time around athletes.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that amazes me around athletes, that when they get discovered, okay, they're no one. They're just on a high school team. They might be a hometown hero, but they usually come from nothing. Okay, they come from small towns, and then all of a sudden, because of their gifting, they're projected into a state stage, a national stage, an international stage overnight. Right, bang, like all of a sudden. And not only are they given a stage with a lens and cameras pointing at them, usually with that comes an excessive amount of money as well. Mm-hmm. And so where they are very well trained in their love for the game and their love for the sport, and you put them on that court, and they'll shine 10 out of 10, they can answer any question. What they're not prepared for is how do you manage funds? How do you stave off the women that literally throw themselves at you while they're ripping their clothes off. Like, and I have friends that have told me the craziest stories. There's a statistic, a friend of mine, he manages a lot of well-known athletes' finance. And he said, what is it? I think the statistic is like 75% 2 years after they leave the sport are divorced and penniless.
Wow.
I think something like that. Forgive me. But this stat was shocking. And there wasn't any preparation for what the rest of the life that they're of favor sends them into. Now, I'm not trying to compare ministry to a sport, but what I am saying is there's a lot of people that are very gifted that are given a platform before their gifting, before the rest of the maturation, what goes along with that platform takes place. This is not me justifying any of it.
Sure.
But I do think that it's easy to point the finger at somebody when they've made a big mistake. But we weren't there with them, walking with them as they gained that place. And some people don't want help. Some people do want help. But there isn't training for favor and the spotlight.
Yeah.
That only comes through time and failure and making mistakes. Unless you come from a family that speaks into your life, you stay grounded, you have, like for me, it's been I have a mom and dad that love me, and they remind me of who I am. I have a wife that could give 2 flying rips on whether I preach or not. And she doesn't. My wife's father was the most famous singer in Paraguay.
Oh, wow.
So she grew up in a family where her father was on the platform and was not the best. And I'm honoring him right now because, is definitely not the best. So for my wife, like she could care less about any of it. And that's very humbling, right? So I come home, and anytime I might, have a big head or get like, okay, I'm going to build this, I'm going to build that, and God's saying this, she's like, shut up. Like, he's not saying any of that. That's you. So, I mean, good family. I think my wife, I've always kept fathers close. Yeah. Whether that's Randy, first before Randy was Bob Bradbury, Heidi, mother, in the faith. Like, I've always kept them close. But I think one of the best things, instead of just giving you tips and tricks, the best is the gospel, right? It is the parable of the leaven and the mustard seed, right? This is what the kingdom of heaven is like. It's not fame or fortune. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. It's something small that grows. It's leaven. It expands in the dough. It matures over time, right? But it is small. It's powerful, yet very, very, very small. Yeah. I've learned that from Heidi. They stay low. And for me, serving the poor, doing missions. Sure. You do this, you go out, serve the poor, right?
Yeah, the underground church has no money.
There's something about surrounding yourself. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is they shall inherit the kingdom. Theirs is the kingdom, right? There's something about being around that reminds you can build an echo chamber of ministry, and where next thing you know, you're just building out of the systems of the world. Yeah. And you've stopped building the kingdom, and you've started building systems that you have to sustain. And if you don't sustain it, people lose jobs, then pressure comes in. Please hear me. I'm not justifying any of the mistakes, but after being in ministry now 25 years, I understand why people cave. I understand why people give in to sustain and hold up, and what they have to do. Numbers rise, and then maybe numbers drop, and you're like, but now I have all these people in this thing, and I got to keep it going, and so you bend, and you take bad advice, and you spend more time building ministry than you do building your walk with the Lord, Listen, you said this something new, that we're in a season. To be honest, this is a time. This is not a new season. Mm-hmm. Read God's Generals. Like it's just
absolutely.
Now we're in a time where you have cameras in everybody's face, and things are recorded, and
we have
it gets
social
found
media,
out.
so things get out faster.
Yeah. So this has gone on for forever.
Yeah. Things that have, there's always been, struggles that Lonnie Frisbee had, and, and A.A. Allen, turns out had issues with drinking. Here's an incredible revivalist, seeing incredible miracles. And so I'm saying that to communicate, these are some people that have had those struggles. And this is a question I always have. This is like an honest, sincere question for me, and that I've probed quite a bit. My dad was in a ministry and had a fall. Had 3 different falls actually during his time in ministry. My mom she's in heaven, a candidate for sainthood, for staying it through with my dad and everything. And I saw of course, the beauty of incredible repentance finally, but what I saw also was I saw this thing, and this is such a strange thing to say. I don't necessarily have a great end thought with it, but I want to throw it out there to you. But what I kind of saw was, I saw this. My dad was very much an entrepreneur, ministry person, a builder, had this drive. You could throw him out in the middle of any country, and he's going to figure out how to build a structure,
right?
How to make. He was an evangelist, a passionate evangelist. But these guys who are like that, they want to create. They want the thrill of creating.
Yeah.
And then at some point they hit a place where their knees kind of get buckled, where something happens to where they don't have that fresh play. And so it almost like they seem to draw to a thrill or something exciting, whether it's let me manipulate a word or something so that it's shocking to people, so it sounds like I'm a really, really cool prophet, or, and that I'm speaking of the counterfeit there versus the authentic, or here's an appealing relationship that I can get in, that I can keep a secret that's clearly not biblical, clearly ungodly, clearly adulterous or whatever. Yeah. But it's sort of moving for the thrill, and it's such the bait of the enemy, that is always seeking.
Yeah.
It's that thing that God speaks to Cain when he says that it's that thing crouching at the door, waiting for that opportunity to get in. And I'm sitting here throwing this out as if I have
throw
a
whatever you want.
But do you think there's a pattern of that in there where people all of a sudden are looking for the maybe it was the thrill of building the ministry, and then they hit a plateau, or they hit a bit of decline, and so they're looking for something in a thrill? Just your perspective.
I think it's pride. Honestly, I just
interesting.
If I go, listen, I'm not going to speak to what I think about others. I'll speak to my own life and things that I've faced. Right? It's pride.
Healthy way to do it.
It's pride, right? And so at one time I called it drive. Excitement, and maybe it started out that way, and then it just left unchecked, it turns into pride, right? It's the love of money, right? It is and I've had it, it's the love of money. It's if I go speak here, I can get this much, and next thing you know, I'm arranging my schedule around honorariums instead of obedience to where the Lord's calling me to go.
Wow,
it starts very, very small and subtle. And left unchecked, I think, guys, listen, the community is at the core of all this. Like I said, family, my wife, fathers and mothers, but also just living in a healthy community with people, which is the body, it's the local church, being a part of a community and living. There's a term I've been saying, it's the Hesed community. It's where you get the term loving kindness.
Yeah.
It's hard to define in Hebrew. It's a word that's very hard to define, so they, from what I have, my limited research, it's where the term loving kindness came from, is trying to explain what Hesed community was. And it was this image of doing life, having family, and a community where people are speaking into, you're speaking into them, and you grow together. Gifting, depending on what kind of gifting someone has, it isolates them, right? The gifting is the thing that isolates them, because now they're moving in maybe power or miracles, and the gifting can be the thing that actually pulls you out of community. And we're called to live in community with people, and that's
Why do you think the gifting pulls you out of community? It makes sense. I'm tracking with you, but I want to, just for everybody, like, why do you think that pulls you out?
Well, I mean, let's just take our lives, right? Like, you leave, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're physically gone.
Yeah.
You know, like, and
you got friends all over the world, but none of them are close. And you got nobody at home.
Yeah. Let me just, like, when I got started in ministry, there was a couple of friends that I was running with. I rarely see them now.
Yeah.
They were so crucial in my life. I trusted them with everything. And I know if I call them, that we're there for each other, but I traveled, I left, I moved to other nations. You know, ministry took me out of some of that community. And then, you know, when you're itinerating, coming back and forth, it's hard to have friendships.
Yeah.
Like real friendships. Like, you might have acquaintances, people you know. Yeah, but like where you're doing life and they're sitting with you and they're like, hey, you talked really awful to your kids. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, whack. Like, that's such an integral part of life and community, and having people that you love and trust surrounding you. And so I think the itinerant lifestyle pulls you out of that. And then listen, I don't care who you are. When people are coming up going, you're the best, like, God used you to change my life. What you said changed my life. Like, it's hard to not let that affect you in some way. It's very hard. And community, living in community, living surrounded by, and I'm not saying like sell everything and buy a house and,
no,
you know, like hippy dippy. I'm just saying, like, having people that are part of your life that speak into you. It's very hard to maintain that in a itinerant lifestyle.
You know, it's really bizarre. I grew up in a commune.
Gross.
I know.
That's weird.
It is weird.
I could feel that on
I
you.
grew up in a commune. You
They
could
had to
feel
shave
that on. I know.
Everybody shaved their heads. Yeah.
I grew up in a commune. Trust me, my wife says all that. That's because you grew up in a commune.
Yeah.
I grew up in a commune, and it was that. But everything you're saying is you had to make it work.
Yeah.
You couldn't be like, yeah, I'm not going to talk to you anymore.
No,
because we have to make dinner together tonight for 50 people.
Yeah.
You know, and there was like this part that had to, it felt like a marriage with to 50 people.
So missions, our missions world,
That's
same thing, right? You're living together with people. And listen, when I was living in Mozambique, like, there was people that I did not like. That were missionaries. I didn't want to be around them. They're still my friends. Like, we didn't do life together. You know, they would come up, but we still had them in our lives. Like, and all these years later, we have this common bond, right? Where we plowed and pioneered, and whether we're in two different places, we have a common bond, and we did life together. And man, like, so right now in Tennessee, I have our offices, but we also have, you know, so I have staff, but we also have missionaries that are there and team. And let me say, like, this last time going through cancer with my wife had cancer. I know you know this. I'm sorry.
Everybody else. Yeah.
She brought sin into the camp. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. It's a cancer joke.
I know that's not true.
Yeah. No, I joke way too much about cancer. But
hey, you had to survive it, bro. You have a license to make jokes.
Me and my oldest son, he was 9 years old. He goes, "Dad, knock, knock." I go, "Who's there?" He goes, "Interrupting doctor." I go, "Interrupting," and as I'm saying, he goes, "You have cancer," and
wow.
Like, that was like 9 years old. I was like, "That's funny." Number one, what? So I'm sorry. I apologize. Where were we? Come back, Holy Spirit.
Don't flee from us.
Living in community. So, Tennessee. So we have this community. It was this way the first time but even more so the second time, where I can't do anything without somebody at my door, checking in, bringing a meal, taking my kids. Do you know who Jessica Tate is?
Yes.
Okay. Jessica Tate is very close with my wife. And if you watch her social media, you will see me and my wife in the background of most of their videos. In fact, she put out a video like yesterday. I got a call at 7 a.m. because one of the girls living in our house locked herself in the bathroom for 4 hours and couldn't get out, and everybody was sleeping. So they called me. I'm over there. I mowed her lawn yesterday. I got somebody to mulch her. Like, this is, we live a few doors down from each other. And one of the reasons why she moved there is because we do life together.
Community,
right?
life,
We do
yeah,
community
come on.
together. And she's one of my wife's best friends, and her interns are eating dinner at my house. And we're, like, when my wife had cancer, Jessica Tate and her intern, who's not really an intern anymore now, just somebody that runs with her, Julia, Jessica removed 90% of her itinerary. And this is how she pays her bills, by traveling and speaking.
Yeah.
And others did as well. Joanne Moody, there's a bunch. But Jessica Tate, she canceled like 8 months of her travel. And she never told us. So like 4 or 5 months into my wife, I go, why aren't you like, I've seen you a lot. Like you're around a lot. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm not busy right now. And I go, hold on. Like, did you cancel your stuff? She's like, I had to pull it out of her. Yeah, I wanted to be around for your kids and your wife. And I'm telling you right now, my kids are walking with the Lord.
Come on.
Mostly, I would say, well, there's a lot of things, but Jessica and Julia are a huge part of that.
Praise God.
And like that's a community. And we fight and we argue,
Sure.
and like
That's what being a community
and
is.
we have missionaries that are a part of that community, and like I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
And they are the first ones to call me out on my crap.
Yeah.
They are the first ones, and all of them do all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think, just to get back to the answer or the question, isolation in the itinerant world is massive. And
so good.
It is massive,
Yes,
and
you're
praise
right.
of man is massive. Jesus, in Mark, he gets baptized by John. The voice of the Lord comes down and announces him. This is my son, whom I'm well pleased. The Holy Spirit descends upon him. And then the Bible says he's ekbaled out, right? Which is the same word that's used in deliverance. Right? He's cast out into the desert, right?
Wow. Come on.
Where he's tempted. And he faces, power, money, right? You can be a ruler.
Yeah.
He faces who is God, right? Truth. He's tempted, and he overcomes all of it. But there's something there, right? As he's baptized in the water, and the Holy Spirit descends on him, he's sent out into ministry. It is the launch point for ministry. And the first thing that happens is he gets tested.
Yeah.
And he passed the test. And then all along, you look at it, even John the Baptist, when he was in prison, I think it's Mark or Matthew 11, says, I need to know, are you the Messiah?
Yeah.
He's questioning it.
Yeah.
Because everybody thought that the Messiah would be a king.
Yeah.
People want that. They want these big leaders that will become powerful. And there is this ability and this desire from people that ministers, that those who know God, that they will step in and you can get handed a crown any day.
Yeah.
Bill taught me this. He said,
Johnson.
Yeah. I think it was Bill. I forget, but it was Bill. He said, they were, how do you stay humble, Bill? And he goes, every day He goes, I have no problem taking the praise of man in the moment, right? Like people want to give honor. I have no problem saying thank you. You know, he doesn't go no.
Yeah.
He says thank you. He says, but at the end of the day, when I pray, I take every crown off that man has put on me and I lay it at the feet of Jesus.
Wow, that's so good.
You know, and like
So good.
Like, and you see those that weather those storms, that weather I don't know. I'm just blithering on now.
No,
Just,
but
you
it's
can shut me
good.
down.
You know, it's really good. And that's the value of community, because you have that relational equity and you have that right, you know, versus everybody on social media who wants to hold you into account and that sort of thing.
They have,
which there's no, it's not
make-believe.
real. Yeah. Thank you. It's not, it's make believe. It's not real. And so it can't be that. Nothing gives you that, you know, you being in Iris. And by the way, you're the CEO of Iris Global.
Yeah.
So you're like over the whole shebang.
Yes, on paper, but I work with an amazing team.
Sure.
And I just, here's the way I look at it is get in trouble when things go wrong, and when things go well, the team. That's my role. I'm the one that gets the blame. I love it.
I love that.
It's so great.
And that's, again, it's another aspect really of community, because you're doing it together, you know, and in this place.
And community can get weird too. Like, so
Sure.
please, like, I'm not like go.
But don't you think
It can get really weird.
You and I have had a lot of mutual friends.
Mm-hmm.
And we've lightly discussed these conversations sometimes, but the people that we've seen not do well or not fare well don't seem to have that. And when I say that, I'm saying they may have friends like us as itinerants all over the world, but then who's at home? But then also they can even be with people that are at home, but do they go deep? Is there people, like I have people that I may see only a few times a year.
Yeah.
But as soon as we're back together, they can go deep with me right away.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that's the significance or somehow significant into it? Or how do you feel about that?
How do I,
Because you're overseeing a lot of people that are in that sort of situation.
The people that, here's at the end of the day, the people that want community find it.
Yeah.
And I'm oversimplifying it now. I'm sure someone's watching. It's like, no, I've been trying to get community, and everywhere I go, I get rejected. Maybe you need to change some things about your life. Mm-hmm. Right. So like, I think at the end of the day, if you really want community, and like biblical community, not just like community where you're getting fed what you want, but where you get challenged, where you get encouraged, iron sharpening iron, right? You can find it. It might not be the same age bracket. It might not be the same demographic. It doesn't matter, but you can find community. I don't remember what I was saying, but anyway, you can find it, right? So there isn't an excuse,
right?
I mean, and now online, and I'm not saying I recommend this. You can have community even if you're totally isolated. Like there are missionaries that I know of that don't have anybody that speaks their language, doesn't look like them. They're pioneering. There's online communities. There's things that they do. In fact, I still talk to my pastors from Pennsylvania 5 days a week.
Wow.
Maybe sometimes 7 days a week. And when I at least an hour a day.
Wow.
And we're playing video games together.
Wow.
Right? Like,
yeah, that's cool.
We get on and play video games together. So we have fun together. And I'm not saying like it's the best, but I will tell you this. They know everything about my life.
Yeah.
They know every single thing. And so even with where there's distance, there's still ways to maintain some sort of community.
Now, let me ask you, and I'm just asking because I know some people.
It's Fortnite, by the way.
Fortnite, yes.
Yeah, you just
Shout out to
Fortnite. Yeah. And it's a long story.
And I think I did Fortnite one time with my kids.
That's how I started.
And I was bad at it.
So
terribly bad.
I got real good real fast.
Yeah.
Real fast.
More gifted than I am.
No. And now we just kick our kids off and we're like, go.
Get out of my way.
Let's talk to Pastor Brian.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, Moosey, I'm going to go talk to my pastor. Okay. Or like, can't say no to that. Yeah.
It's not playing a game. It's a session together.
Yeah. No,
I was actually going to bring up her, like, how is, because so many times, like I know my personality, my wife's personality are very different.
Yeah.
And so like when you have that, like, how do you relate? Like, does she relate differently in community than you do?
100%.
Because she's more introverted, right?
No, well, she's Latina.
Yeah, well, then that sort of takes away any.
She's whatever she wants to be whenever she wants to be it. Okay, so yes, sure, she can be. She can be whatever
Yes,
she
ma'am.
wants to be. And if you're watching this, I'm wrong about everything. Yeah, no, she can do and be like, she can be extroverted, she can be introverted, she can be
whatever hits her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
cool.
it keeps
That
me
is cool.
guessing. So no, like we do community different.
And how does that look?
I mean, she likes quality time.
Yeah.
Deep connections.
Yes.
There's only a few people that I have that with.
Yeah.
That I can have it with a lot, but I have like really, really deep. It was with a small handful of people.
Yes.
But I can do social community friends,
Sure.
All the time. She likes more of that. But as we've gotten older, we've pared that down a little bit.
Yeah.
My wife and Jessica Tate, they have, there's a whole group that have a Thursday night gathering where we do about 60 to 70 youth come from like 20s to 30s.
Wow.
They do that. And so there's that group, there's people that she disciples, and then there's friends that she hangs out with. But at any given moment, I can walk in my front door and there's 20 to 5 people, 5 to 20 people in my house at any given moment.
Yeah.
From
cool.
community. So
That's so interesting.
we do it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like you were talking about with community, like in Mozambique.
Yeah.
So how did you experience the community when you got that worm?
Which worm?
The worm,
I've had more than one.
the what do they call it? Parasite.
Yeah,
that
botfly.
burrowed itself.
Yeah, botfly.
What did you call it?
It's a botfly.
Botfly, but
Yeah.
it burrowed itself
Right into my left keister.
right
cheek.
into your butt.
Yeah.
And so your wife,
Well, did you just bring up my wife and community so you could talk about my
only
butt?
reason why I wanted to talk about your butt and the
Yeah.
butt fly. You're
Yeah.
calling it bot. I'm calling it a butt fly.
It was technically a botfly, and we
This
get
is
them all
the
the time.
price of being a missionary, right here.
No, that's
This-
not the
this
price.
is-
That's fun. Yeah, botflies, they lay eggs and they burrow into your skin, and they live there. You've never had one?
Never.
Dude, I've had a couple of different types of worms over the years.
No, I've had parasitical
Yeah.
issues with stuff, but
Yeah.
not one that did that.
Are we talking worms right now? Let's do this. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, they
Gloves are off.
bury
This
into
is
your
radical
skin.
radio, my
So
friend.
my wife is a like a clean
I
freak, not in
could
the
see
house,
that.
just like if I'm dirty.
her.
Yeah, like
yeah.
yeah. It's like so I would come home every day, Mozambique, and you got to understand, like everything's filthy. So you get a cut, either you cut yourself, within 30 seconds, a fly's on it. It's kind of fascinating. So you live dirty. There's nothing clean. Nothing.
Yeah.
So anything would get infected.
Yeah.
So I would come home, and my wife would just scrub me down. She'd clean, hydrogen peroxide. It was like her thing. She
Really?
just did
Wow.
it all the time. I just had to submit and sit there, and she'd rub stuff on me, And so she was doing that one day, and now I have to explain how she got to my. Yeah,
It's your
it
wife.
was
You don't really
burrowing.
have
It was
to.
burrowing in my skin, and like for days, I'm like, this thing itches so bad. And finally, she's like, I'm checking it out, and you can see a little breather hole.
Really?
I thought it was a mosquito bite, and
Wow.
yeah, she ripped that bad boy out.
Did it have a head on it, like a
It's a
pimple
maggot.
thing?
It looks like a maggot.
And she ripped, so it comes
Well,
to the surface.
she popped
and
that. She popped that thing out like a demonic zit. If you want the actual details, yeah,
demonic.
yeah, just floop. Yeah, a little.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
See, I don't know. I heard that story when you were in Tom and Heidi Rotolo's house in Reading, and I've never forgotten it. I've been looking for the opportunity to bring it up, and here we are.
I
my
guess so.
friend.
I mean,
Here we
dude, on the missions field, stuff happens.
I know. It's crazy.
Here's the cool thing. It wasn't that big. And sometimes, like, I know when people have gotten them in their head and like, they'll get them back here and cause they're kind of moving around and chewing and like, and you can hear them. Oh, like, so you could just hear them nonstop.
Crazy.
Or yeah. And I've gotten out massive ones from people before.
Wow.
Like big old chonkers.
So you having this gave you the expertise to then perform this extraction.
I had a dog named Mac. He was a yellow lab. It was kind of miraculous how I got him in the middle of nowhere, Mozambique. But I had this dog, and I would sit there every day and just come home from work and sit there and pop him out of his paws.
Out of my,
no, you just. It's like, hey, come here. Let's get rid of your bot flies.
That's crazy. Hey, if you're a pastor looking to equip and train your church to step out and demonstrate the signs and wonders of Jesus in your community, check out this testimonial video from one of our host pastors of Acts.
My name is Peter Oswald. I'm the senior pastor of Arise Life Church here in Ackworth, Georgia. And we just finished with our very first Acts with Robby Dawkins. I'm struggling to tell you what has happened because so much has happened. We received the understanding of God's heart for the lost, but also his call on each and every one of us to bring the world into an encounter with his love and his power so that they might know him. It has activated all of our people, from the littlest to people into their 70s and 80s. Many of us, we already knew a lot, but actually many times we knew too much. They simplified it and made it practical. As pastors, we see a lack in our body and we want to send our people to be trained. Or we're like, I need an evangelist to go bring people into the church. Listen, if you are considering something like this, it needs to be an all-in thing for your church to host it. Or if you're considering sending your people, I want to challenge you. You go, take your people there, and together be transformed so you can take back that fire to transform your church. But I will tell you this, if you'll do that, you all will never be the same, and your community will never be the same. And so I just want to say, if you're considering the opportunity to join something like this, don't walk, run.
You've been all over the world. You've had all that. What's the craziest like God thing you've ever seen?
I mean, it depends. It depends on what level of crazy.
Right?
Dude,
Yes,
you get asked this question.
I know. That's
How
why
do you
I'm
answer
asking it? It's hard.
Yeah, listen, and I will say this: the craziest, the most important one is salvation, right?
Course,
and I have to. I used to actually never say that's the biggest miracle. It is the craziest thing that God would use normal people to go and preach His glorious gospel. That is the craziest. That aside, war zones have been crazy, crazy miracles that I still don't understand. Food multiplication. I've seen diesel multiply in our tank. We drove 14 hours, no diesel. You have to define crazy, like crazy, exotic.
So
like
let's stick with that as a miraculous category.
Yeah.
What in the miraculous category? So fuel.
My wife and I
provided.
drove, and a guy named Herbert and Cassandra. We were ministering in the Congo. I'm sure you've heard the Congo. I think you've heard my Congo story.
Yeah.
What I don't really share is the going back part. We had no diesel in our tanks. And we chose to go down a road because the way in was chaos. It was like 12 hours. So we're like, we'll take another way out. And when we're loading up the cars, it was two vehicles. The guy came and he's like, we have no diesel. We only have this one jerry can. And jerry can's like maybe 5 gallons.
Right.
They put 2.5 in one car, 2.5 in the other, and they were both on empty. And we drove 14 hours. And that was all we had in our tanks.
Crazy, man.
That was all we had in our tanks through rebel territory.
I was going to say in the Congo, just to put that on perspective of people, it's a place where you don't really want to stop. You don't want to stop.
No. At the time, it was the most dangerous nation in the world. Yeah.
That's amazing.
25 rebel groups functioning. Right now, Congo is chaotic.
Yeah.
I think it's the Hutus have taken over cities that we were in. Like it's been a war zone for years. And like that might not be the craziest, but what I love, some of the crazy ones, they just mean something different to me. You know, it wasn't just the type of miracle. It was more what God did in the midst of it, around it. I've seen deaf hear, lame walk, blind see. One of my favorite ones was in Mozambique. It was Heidi. She was talking to a mama that had a child on her back, but you could tell there was something wrong with the child, right? So it wasn't a baby. Mm-hmm. I want to say maybe 3-4 years old, but stunted. And Heidi goes, "Mama, what's wrong?" And she goes, my baby won't walk. And Heidi just, without asking, picks the baby up, sets it down, and it runs. Wow. It just runs. No prayer, no nothing. She goes, "Oh." And I was just standing there.
An action of faith.
I don't even know what to
That's
call it.
That's what I would call it.
Heidi, I've watched that woman move in the miraculous so many times. And it's effortless. It's effortless.
It's amazing.
Especially with the Makua and the Makandi. I have never, this is me personally, others might have different, I personally have never seen her pray for a Makua or a Makandi that's deaf or partially deaf on outreach in Mozambique, and they haven't been healed.
She starts with the deaf when she goes into one of their villages, right?
Yeah, deaf for the blind.
Yeah, because it's a visible, everybody knows they're deaf, they're blind, and that's so she always starts with that. That's incredible.
Well, I've seen food multiply.
What was that?
You never know
seen
when
one
it's
situation like that.
I've never. So in the 2 or 3 times I've seen it, you don't know that it's happening until after.
This is true.
Until after the fact.
Let's hear it.
Well, it's no different than the diesel, right?
Yeah,
you're in it. You're driving, and you're not thinking about it. But then you go, okay, hold on. We had 2 bags of cookies, and we fed. With each had 200 cookies. And we fed 50 kids, giving them each 5 cookies. And then we fed them again, each 5 cookies. And then we fed them again, each 5 cookies. And then there was leftover. And you go, that math don't add up.
The loaves and
fishes. But not even like, oh, there was an extra 50. Like, no, there was an extra 10 bags or what, like it didn't make sense. There was a time in Mozambique where there was a riot. I actually wasn't there. I was there, but I wasn't there when it took place. It was what the missionaries told me that night. Somebody they freaked out. They had an episode it was a missionary or visitor had an episode, and they were in charge of cooking. I think they were on like an anti-malaria medication. So which is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Like a larium. And people react bad. And this person reacted really bad. So they kind of went nuts, locked everything down. And all they had made was like 1 pot of spaghetti and tuna fish, which was like a dish, like oil, spaghetti, tuna fish. You kind of mix it up and it's a thing. And it was supposed to be for like 500 people, and there was enough for 30 people. And the woman had locked down the kitchen and locked herself in, and people are starting to riot. And when people preach about hunger. Mm-hmm. You don't know what hunger is until you've seen starving people riot for food.
Mm. Wow. Yeah.
Hunger takes a different,
yeah.
Like, are you hungry for God? Are you hungry for more? Are you thirsty? Like, it means something different to me.
Yeah.
After you see people riot and push down children and mamas to get a crust of bread, so that people are starting to riot, and Heidi runs in and she grabs the pot and just starts scooping it out. And I forget the number. I'm going to go low. I'm going to say all 300 were fed out of this 1 pot of. And you don't, in Mozambique, a plate isn't like, a tea saucer. It's like a huge mound of food.
Yeah.
And everybody ate. It's just stories like that. Well, Heidi had another one where I wasn't there for this, but it's one of my favorite Mozambique ones. Because it was in the early days. Is this okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good on time?
We're fine on time.
Where they didn't have any money for Christmas gifts. and a missionary came and brought like one bag of gifts to give to kids. And Heidi sits down. She's like, "This is all we have for Christmas this year, kids." And she's sitting with the kids from the children's home, and she goes, "What do you want?" And the girl goes, "I want Mesha," which is like hair extensions. Just Heidi reaches in the bag and pulls out.
Wow.
Goes down. What do you want? And I heard somebody like critique that testimony once, like, "Oh, Heidi's magical bag of Santa," and it's like, you arrogant,
cheapening the
fool.
miracle,
like you
provision
arrogant fool. Like God loves His children, and He's the Father, and He gives good gifts to His children.
Come on.
And maybe in that one moment, like they don't know what it is to be an orphan or not have anything, and those kids pray.
Yeah,
like they actually pray for Christmas. And this is like back in the day when there was nothing. There was no Heidi famous.
Yeah,
this is just her and Rolland and kids.
Yeah,
that she had rescued from the dump. And those stories, like, and I know I wasn't there. I could tell you a lot of things that I've seen, but those are the stories. And I know the kids that are now adults that were there and share it. And it's like those things I just go, I learned more about the Father through those than a lot of the crazy miracles of, people seeing, which I love, the deaf ear. I love all that. It's like, it reveals the Father.
Yeah. You know what's so incredible? And I've seen what you've just said with the food provision, 2 situations, but they were, and this is how it works. It's interesting.
You never know.
It's opened my perspective up to the miracle, the multiplication of the loaves and fishes. Now, I used to wouldn't have said this before. Now I always say the disciple, because each disciple would have probably gone up with this much in their hand. 12 men, going out with 2 fish, 5 pieces of bread. It's like this much in each person's hand.
Yeah.
But then they come back with 12 of these and everybody's eating to their fill. Yeah. And I always say, nobody knew a miracle happened, and the teenagers are having a food fight.
Yeah.
On the grass, and that to where they're like, we're full, we're done. And then Jesus has them go and pick up, so they see the miracle. Yeah. Because I don't think they saw it in their hands. I believe God wanted it to multiply in their hands. Yeah. But they don't realize it until the end. I was in a situation in Russia. We were up in Siberia, soup on the streets type situation. And all of a sudden the people just didn't stop. And this is like early days, like after and Siberia is harsh anyway, but it's after the, not long after the Iron Curtain comes crashing down, and dipping out soup. And then all of a sudden this one guy looks at me and he goes, "We're out." He goes, "I'm hitting the bottom and I'm hearing clunk. We're out of soup." And I just look at him, and I don't even know why I said it, Will. Yeah. But I looked at him, I said, "Don't stop dipping." Yeah. I said, "Just don't stop." And each time he'd go down and hit the bottom, he'd come up with a full ladle. Yeah. Each time, boom, I could hear him clink each time, hit the bottom, come up with a full ladle. And then one time we were in a Muslim country, and we're handing out Bibles, and all of a sudden it's a run on Bibles, like you can catch you with it, they'll kill you. Yeah. And there's all of a sudden, and they're like, "We're out." And I said, "Keep reaching in the box." Yeah. Now I'm doing that because of the ladle thing in the soup in Siberia, Russia. Yeah. And they keep reaching in. There's another Bible. Keep reaching in. There's another Bible. Keep reaching in. There's another Bible. There's something important to us reaching for it. Yeah. And that expectancy, but also slight terror of, is it not going to be anything this time? But then that's where the miracle happens. And it's just, I love that. And so Heidi reaching in that bag.
I love that stuff. And maybe it's me. When I start thinking about it is when I lose faith, because I put my focus in the natural. When some of the craziest miracles that I've seen haven't taken place when I've like prayed for them, like laid hands on them. They've taken place in a meeting where I'm just praying for the sick. Lord, heal the sick, right? Like anybody that's here. And I knew that like if that person came up to me, there was one guy, there was one guy in New Zealand. I was at this church. I think it was the North Island. I forget where it was. And gosh, this has to be 15 years ago. I'm in this church, and it's like, not everybody's like happy. Like it was a hard night.
Sure.
You know, I was cutting my teeth in ministry, and I was praying for the sick, right? Like I just want to, before I start, I just want to bless. If you need healing, just lift your hands up. And so I start praying for the sick. Hey, if God healed you, will you give a testimony? One woman comes down. She's like, my left thumb doesn't hurt anymore. I was like, okay, thank you. You know, my right kneecap twitched for a second. I'm like, okay, that's, you know, inside I'm just like, wow, okay. And then this one guy comes and he goes, I lifted my hand for the first time. I raised my arm for the first time. I said, you did? He goes, yeah. And then he pulls back his sleeve and his arm was like emaciated, just bones. And I go, what happened? He goes, I cut my arm off with a chainsaw.
Wow.
And they connected it back with metal. I haven't been able to raise my arm up more than this. And he goes, when you said lift your hands up for prayer, I went and stretched my hands out for the first time. And he goes, and Will, like the weird thing is, he had no muscle. He's like, you can rub your finger along this bone and feel the bone, and you could feel the plate. He goes, I could feel my muscle, whatever little thing he had in there, rubbing up against. He goes, I can't feel it anymore.
Wow, come on.
He goes, I can't feel the metal plate anymore.
So good.
And him and his friends, we all spent time trying to touch the plate. I didn't feel anything. You know, I just love that. Because if he would have come up to me and been like, hey, will you pray for me?
So good. Yeah.
I would have been like, yeah. But, you know, like I wouldn't have had the faith.
I know.
I mean, I want to believe I'm just that guy I don't always feel like I'm full of faith.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But God moves. And I love those miracles. And I think the multiplication of food is very similar. It's like, it just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just that there's something about that, just reaching in, you know. I have a similar, we're here talking to you, but I got to throw this out because this caught me by surprise. I was in England, and this girl who was a youth pastor in the Church of England came up to me, and she goes, will you pray for me? She goes, I fell from a zip line in Central America, and she goes, and shattered my wrists, and they had to reattach them and all. She goes, so I can't do this. And I said,
can't do what?
I'm sorry, you can't do what? She goes, I can't do this. And I said, do what? And she goes, I can't do, her hand would only turn this far.
Wow.
But in showing me what she couldn't do, she was healed.
That's incredible.
I was like, God bless you. That was the easiest. I didn't pray, nothing.
There you go.
I'm like, it's just, okay. Hey, I said, matter of fact, I said, wait a minute. I said, stay up here in case anybody else has anything else. And I said, you're now the one God's on to pray for any issues with hands, arms, any limbs whatsoever, you know, just made her a part of the team with it. But it's so crazy just how in that moment, just boom.
Dude, I want to ask you a question.
Go for it.
Can I?
Yeah, turn the tables.
Only if you're okay. Have you ever had a season? So you move in healing a lot. It's like one of the things that you're Robby Dawkins, man. You're the guy that moves in healing. So I had a season early on in my life, where when I was in Paraguay, it was almost like 75, 80% of the people I pray for would get healed. And then like I had a season where, and I'm traveling with Randy, seeing tons of healings. And then I had a season where it was like I didn't see it. I wasn't in sin. I wasn't like, didn't see it. Have you ever had a season like that where you were moving in a gift for a long time and then all of a sudden it's like not as much?
You know, it's a great question. It's a great question. I love this question. One of the things that I have kind of a secret weapon.
Gross.
That I'm going to let you know.
No, I'm just kidding.
Carol Wimber, the late Carol Wimber. Now she just passed away. John Wimber's widow.
I thought you said Carol Arnott.
No,
no.
She hasn't passed away. Very much alive.
We love you, Carol.
We were just
Carol Wimber.
We were just at her house last weekend.
I literally just had a moment.
Carol Wimber, very much close to. Her walking. Carol Arnott's walking and anointing would trump Carol Wimber's
Yeah.
anointing, because Arnott is just, oh my gosh, she's a flamethrower.
She's incredible.
That
My
woman
heart
is-
just stopped for a
No,
second, but
sorry,
please,
man,
go. Carol
we're
Wimber.
having dinner at Carol Wimber's house, I and my son, and I just asked her, I said, I'm a new itinerant, I said, Carol, what would you give, having been with John, what advice would you give somebody like me? What counsel, what advice would you give somebody? I was expecting have somebody that's oversees you, that always keeps you in check, which is all good. Not saying it's not. She didn't say any of that. She paused for a minute and she looked at me. She goes, Robby, if you'll always seek to equip and raise up others to do what you want to do the most, you'll always have it and it'll never stop. And so from that point forward, Will, what I started doing is I started bringing other people up and equipping them in front of groups of people and saying, put your hand here, say these words, do this, do bop, bop, bop. Something John used to do with Blaine Cook.
Right.
But you used to irritate because you couldn't hear Blaine. John wouldn't let you hear Blaine's prayer.
Okay.
But he would explain what was going on. But I do it, let them hear and then explain what's going on. And there has been a consistency. Of course, I've written 3 books. I could write 8 on all the people that didn't get healed, where you hit those points, you hit those times. I wouldn't say there's been that season though, because of that experience. That great pearl of wisdom that Carol gave me. So I've always seen a consistency in the prophetic, always seen a consistency in healing, always seen a consistency in the manifest presence, the impartation, Holy Spirit, seen an extreme consistency in that. I'm also very protective. There's a lot of other things, very protective, but I've seen a consistency in it. But I remember one night I was, so the periods were really super short. One night I was at a Calvary Chapel in San Diego.
I got kicked out of one of those ones.
They had just, Chuck Smith had passed away.
Amazing church.
And so they were all of a sudden curious, not just to be clear, Miles McPherson, you've been there, not at his church, but another Calvary Chapel, an actual Calvary Chapel named church. All of a sudden brought 10 people up on stage, and they're all kind of big churches. 10 people up on stage, go one by one by one. The biggest change was somebody going from a 10 to an 8. So all the numbers are high. 0 is completely
what are we talking
healed,
about? 10
by the
to
way.
8, like pain?
10 to 8, pain.
Yeah, okay.
Lack of movement, whatever, restriction of movement, whatever it was. 8 was the furthest anybody out of the 10 had moved. Will, I hadn't seen anything like that at this point. And I am pissed. I am furious. I am like, what is going on? I finally get an open door in a Calvary Chapel.
Yeah.
These guys were sort of secretly coming to my meetings, but never overtly.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I hit this. And so I told my son the next day, I said, we're going to go make the enemy pay for that. This is Satan fighting against us. So we went to an outlet mall and prayed for a bunch of unbelievers. All these people at this meeting, they're believers.
Prime the pump.
So, this is us making the enemy pay for attacking the meeting. Before the Lord, this is exactly what happened.
Okay.
We get back to the meeting Saturday. That was Friday night. Get back to the meeting Saturday night. And there's a guy that comes in one of those big mobile wheelchairs, but he has a caregiver pushing. He's curled up. He's like frozen in this position, can't move. So it's almost like he's a quadriplegic, but because he cannot move, but he can feel things, but he is frozen in this curled up position and can't speak or anything else. I'm mad. Remember, I'm mad at the enemy. I'm not mad at the people. I'm not going, they have a lack of faith. None of that's in my thinking. Not mad at myself. I'm not sitting there going, is there sin in the camp with me? None of that's there. I was like, how many of you want to see this guy get out of this wheelchair?
Bro.
And everybody's like nervous because they're like, the furthest we saw anybody go last night was 8 from 10.
Wow.
Like you're really going to do this?
And I walked over and I said, by the authority of Jesus Christ, I bind you, you foul spirit of death. Get off this man in Jesus' name. You get out of that wheelchair, right? Will, he starts rocking. He's like, and all of a sudden he leaps before the Lord, leaps out of the wheel. Will, I was so terrified that he's going to face plant because this guy's curled up. His caregiver's the one who pushed him in. I grabbed the back of his shirt. He's trying to run, and I am holding the back of his shirt as he's trying to run. And she's screaming, let him go, let him go. I've never seen him. I let him go. He runs 3 laps.
No.
These are big churches around the entire sanctuary
When was this?
3 times. This, I'm thinking it was 2013, 2014, 11 years ago.
Where was
12
this?
years ago.
San Diego. Wow.
Runs laps around the entire church. Sadly, fixed cameras are all on the stage, and he's down on the floor on the front row, so nobody caught it. They only got pictures of him sitting, and he would not sit back in that wheelchair.
Come on.
When he's done, he sits on the front row, and he's like, because his legs are emaciated.
Wow.
Because he's had no movement for
Yeah.
years. And his legs are emaciated, and he sits down, and he's like, and I said, do you want to, because his chair's super comfortable. It's got cushions all over it, all that. And he's sitting just on this regular chair, and he's like, no, never. And it was the craziest scene I'd ever seen. Of course, then, everybody who gets up that night gets healed. It's like boom, 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 boom. Because the surge of faith and expectancy in the room just shot through the roof after that. But bro, it was honestly, it's what we label, it's the revenge of God. It's making the enemy pay for attacking and robbing people of healing. I don't ever see it as God withholding, and I don't ever look at it. To me, it doesn't matter the faith of the individual. It is the taking the authority over that, because all of our bodies come from the earth, come from dirt.
Yeah.
We were given dominion over the earth. And what Satan is doing, Satan's the opposer. He's the god of this world. He's the one fighting. And so you're making him pay for fighting. And so I pulled other people in, and I was like, now all of you are now going to pray for people, and I'm going to coach you through it. And we saw a ton of people get healed.
Bro, I have a similar story with a different ending.
Please.
So I'm up in Pennsylvania, and I go to this church. It was right before I'm getting ready to go to Mozambique. So it's me and my wife. I had no kids at the time. Go to this church. I don't remember the name of the place. Middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Small church, precious pastor, loves the Lord. Just great people. Staying at someone's home.
Good old days.
Go to the church. Yeah. Go to the church, preaching. And I felt like the Holy Spirit walked out of the room.
Wow.
The only time I've ever felt that happen.
Wow.
It was just me, all by myself. Only time I've ever done this, take the microphone and hand it to my wife. I'm like, I'm done. It was it was terrifying. I just felt
Horrifying.
like I was confused. It was weird. There was no presence. So I go back. The next day I wake up. I was there all day, just in a meeting at night. And I'm like, so it was Friday. That was a Friday night. So now I'm speaking Saturday night. The entire day, I walk this town and I pray and I'm seeking God. I'm like, do something. Like, what is going on? My wife's encouraging me. And I get up. Dude, I get up and I'm like ready to start calling people out of wheelchairs. I'm like, God's going to move. Blah, 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 da, 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 da. And I'm like crushing it. All of a sudden, people start looking in the back of the church. And this kid drops into a full grand mal seizure in the back of the church.
Wow.
Foaming at the mouth.
Yep.
And they go, don't worry. Someone screams out, don't worry, Will's here. I'm cringing. And I run back to the church.
Yeah.
And now this entire church
Yes.
is staring at me
Yes.
as I'm holding this boy in my arms. And he seizes until the ambulance comes.
Wow.
This is the reverse of your
Yes.
story.
No, I got you.
I pressed in.
I got you.
I held this kid in my arms, praying for him. And the ambulance takes him away. And then everybody looks at me and goes, finish up your message.
You know what I love about that?
Sorry,
go ahead.
No. Like, it was...
terrifying.
I think I was actually teaching on healing that night. I think that's what they asked me to come in and do.
Yeah.
So first thing off in the service, worship ends, and then that. And I just felt like the smallest human in the world.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I never wanted to to minister ever again.
Yeah.
And they told me later, like, as soon as he got into the ambulance, he stopped seizing. Yeah.
I was about to say, I bet he did when he got in the ambulance.
Yeah.
You know what I love about that? That
It's
was
one of
you
my worst.
and not me.
Yeah.
No.
It's one of my worst. Like, I look back and I just go, yeah.
You know what? Seriously, you know what I love about that? This is gonna sound crazy. It doesn't make sense. Acts 19, sons of Sceva.
Yeah.
Go to cast out this demon of this guy, turns and beats the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Blood running down, running away, naked. Massive failure story.
Yeah.
Yet word spreads about that all over.
Yeah.
To the point where everybody fills the big, massive 12,000 seat arena.
Yeah.
It says word spread everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And a holy fear descends on Ephesus.
Wow.
Out of a massive failure story. Here's my conclusion.
Are you going to try to encourage me out of this?
I'm not. It's really not. But
Yeah.
but I think it will be.
Yeah.
It's what Bill Johnson says. It's shifting the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Even when failures happen, kingdom activity is taking place.
Yeah.
When we say failures, you're shifting something.
Totally with you.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally with you.
And it's to the point to where that it sort of does. Like, I see my first trip to Pakistan as being speaking in these big arenas, which I'm sorry, forgive me if you disagree with me, but I think they're just jokes. Otherwise, Pakistan would be a Christian nation by now, and it's not.
That's me clinking that. Do you know that the number, it's Pakistan, the population that has raised their hands to give salvation is four times
the population of the entire
nation.
Country. Yeah. It's all BS. I'll say it.
There are some people getting saved.
There are some people getting saved, but when I say it's all BS, I'm saying the hype and the extreme and the exploitation of it.
I totally.
And here's the thing. Here's what it really boils down to. We know it's the indigenous people that are going to spark a massive revival.
100%.
It's the indigenous. It's all what missiology is about. Mm-hmm. It's not the great whites from the West going there to parade in front and show. No. It truly is about those people. Yeah. And so I'm saying all that to say this: what happens in that moment and in that, like all the stuff we're currently doing in Pakistan is raising up the Pakistanis. Yeah. We're raising up the underground church. Our focus isn't, there's never going to be, more likely, there's never going to be a crusade in Afghanistan or Iran, at least under the current situation.
Dude, but I've heard that Iran is the fastest growing church
without a crusade,
and then Afghanistan's number 2. That's what I'm hearing.
No, 100% correct.
Yeah,
without a crusade.
I know.
All house churches.
Isn't it crazy?
It's and you know what God spoke to me? Because I've been working in Iran for over 20 years and Afghanistan for over 17.
Yeah.
You know what God spoke to me? When all of the pastors of churches that were registered pastors had to flee because of prison and killing them. This may sound nuts, but the Lord spoke to me and he said, I had to get rid of the handlers of my church. What you're seeing now is what it looks like when I build my church.
Bro.
The gates of hell can't prevail when he builds it. I want to encourage you to partner with us for our ACTS, Arab Kingdom Training Schools, that we are doing throughout the world. They're not exclusively to Arab nations. We were in Pakistan in November, and the schools were off the charts. Many of the leaders there were telling us this is the best and most effective training they have ever had, and even the most powerful of some of the events that they've had throughout their history. I need your help. We need you to help send us. Our ACTS schools, we equip in sharing the gospel, we equip in healing, deliverance, ministry of manifest presence, casting demons out. People experience God's presence and God's truth like never before. We need you to help us so that we can raise up this incredible army of God throughout the Muslim world and throughout closed nations in order to be the hands and feet of Jesus. That's what our ministry is all about. And so we need your help. I want to encourage you, go to acts.global or robbydawkins.com and partner with our foreign schools today. These trips aren't cheap. Many of them cost $50,000 just to go there and to be able to host these schools, because we have to bring the people in, we have to feed them, we have to house them. There's so much to do. And that's not even talking about our personal costs. We can't go if you don't sow. So I want to encourage you, go to acts.global or robbydawkins.com, become a partner with us so that we can see so many believers in the underground church equipped and changing their nation for the gospel of Jesus Christ. Let's do this together.
Can I share something kind of cool?
Dude, you can share anything. This is Radical Radio.
First of all, what's taking place in Iran, Afghanistan is mind-boggling. And I don't want to try to compare what I'm about to, but for the American viewers watching this, these last 2-3 months, I'm witnessing a move in Tennessee. And I'm telling you, Robby, like, I'm going to try not to get too specific because I want to cover. I'll give you like the kind of a bare bones story. Bible Belt, right? So people are very much, I'd say very similar to Texas, right? Like,
oh yeah, very
everybody
much
knows
Bible
Jesus. They grow up around, like, they understand church. They do the thing. So there's a guy, and this is actually ties into the vineyard. Okay, so you might like it. Yeah. This guy, very wealthy CEO for a massive company out of Boston in the billions range. Okay, during COVID, gets let go from his position. Spends time, consulting. Fast forward a couple of years, and I think he's maybe 6 months out from getting I'm going to go start getting another job, and highly desired. Okay, in fact, a Fortune 20 company just reached out, like Fortune 20, one of the biggest, just reached out to him to step in as CEO of their U.S. branch. Tens of millions of dollars in salary a year. Okay, so I'm talking.
Yeah, okay. Huge.
Yeah, he's getting ready to get back into the job game, and he's like, I'm gonna get hungry for God before I go. I got this time. So he's working out and gets connected with a vineyard pastor somehow. I don't really remember how it happens, but meets this vineyard pastor, and they are working out at the same gym, and they would walk, and one day they crossed paths. And I don't remember if it was there or at another thing that they had met, but they had known each other very lightly. And he's like, hey, I hear I'm like hungry for God. I want more of it. And the vineyard pastor's like, can I pray for you? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I'm going to pray that you get baptized in the Spirit. God prays for him. And he starts speaking in tongues. Okay? That's it. Leaves him. See ya. And now he's got this gift he knows nothing about. He starts reads in the Bible how tongues can be interpreted. Okay? And he starts voice memo recording his tongues.
Yeah.
And he sends them off to an online translator. And it comes back fluent Hebrew.
Wow.
Okay? Fluent Hebrew. He starts having dreams every night. Now, I met with him like maybe a month or two after this started happening. And I've read through, I have some on my phone of these messages that he has gotten translated, and they come back. In fact, 2 days ago, because I trust but verify.
Sure.
Okay. Right. And so, and I've been walking with this guy now for months. So like, but even then, like he sent me a thing, and I called up my friend in Israel. Hey, what does this mean? And I read it off. Yep, this is the Lamb of God that's coming, and so I'm hearing the voice memo recordings.
Match what he's saying.
It's mind-boggling. It's called Zena Glossolele. It's speaking in another language. It's biblical.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he's getting this. He's on this journey, and now he's praying for things, and then he'll speak in tongues, and it'll get translated, and the tongues are answering the questions that he's praying for. So he gets this word. I'll keep this as quick as I can. He gets one word. Lord, I want to get. What job should I go and do? And he's getting all these massive offers. What job? And all he's getting from the Lord, and he's showing me these things as they're coming in, like, or over the weeks. God's building a house. You're going to build a house. Meets this guy. He goes, hey, I heard you were a CEO. I have a building company. I have 7 building companies. I'm looking for a CEO. And he's like, I'm going to do that. Gets involved in his company, becomes CEO in that company. Next thing you know, he's ministering. The guy from the head of the company starts watching what he's doing. I want this. Whatever you have, I want. So over the last 3 months, 4 months, about every 2 weeks, 5 or 6 strangers show up. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they do. And we spend time ministering, praying for them. I have seen deliverance.
Come on.
We are seeing, and I won't list off the names, but I'm telling you, like, I've had 10 actors, directors, Nashville musicians, leaders in the state that we don't know who anyone is. These are all connections. Word has spread, and there's something crazy happening where I'm seeing this move, this organic move that is outside of the church.
Yeah.
Right? You said, like, this doesn't involve the church. This just involves one dude who's got baptized in the Spirit. And as he's sharing his testimony, it is multiplying at such a rapid pace. And off camera, I can tell you some of the things that have happened through that. But like opportunities that I used to like lay in my bed and pray for.
Wow.
Are now coming, and I don't even know who these people are when we're praying for them. 90% of them, it's their first time they've ever received a prophetic word. They're like, how do you know this? There was a guy last night that showed up, started a massive company. He was making $2.5 million a year at his company. Left, and he came with tears last Friday and said, like, I just want more of God.
Come on.
Like, I just want more of his Spirit. Like, and these guys have grown up in church. I'm seeing it. There's a move in Iraq or Iran and Afghanistan. I'm not comparing the two, but what I am saying for those of you who are in the States, God is doing something outside of the four walls.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing my friends say something very similar. It's like those who've been in the move for years, you're the best trained. And sometimes you get so used to, like,
yeah,
I'm going to go out and do ministry here. But there's people around you that are so hungry. And all it takes is praying for one person.
Come on.
To get the baptism of the Spirit.
Come on.
And it's so sovereign. Like, I really mean this. Like,
yeah,
I couldn't recreate this. I couldn't do meetings that would cause, like, it's so sovereign, and it's just beginning to permeate everywhere. And there's stories, and I'm starting to get more and more, like, marriages have been healed, people have been set free, and it has nothing to do with the church. Most of them are all plugged into their church, but there's no understanding of any of this.
Yeah.
It's just really, really beautiful. God is moving. He's moving right now.
That's so cool.
These are things that I've prayed for.
Yeah.
But I thought it would come a different way.
You know, it's interesting you're sharing this, because like one ministry thing that we did together was in a very similar situation.
Heck yeah.
And we had
I know what you're
A-lister in.
Are we not allowed to?
Music. I guess we can. I mean, we can.
It doesn't matter.
They put it
doesn't
out.
matter.
Yeah. But definitely a rock and roll heavyweight, let's put it that way, that everybody
and it wasn't
would know.
Brian.
No, it's not Brian Head. Yeah,
Okay.
we're good friends with Brian. We love Brian.
Yeah.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Yeah.
Love you, Brian. But it wasn't him.
No.
But it was definitely somebody who, and I'm going to say this because I want to say it about you. This guy brought us in, you, me, Todd, to pray for, I think I say that, his cousin.
Him and his family.
And his family there, yeah. But she had a crisis, a physical crisis, a godly woman.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Godly woman. Mm-hmm. And Will, one of the things that moved me so much, was watching you contend for her healing, and watching you at one point you were practically carrying this lady to walk down, it's a big mansion house we're in, the corridors in this house in Miami, fighting for this healing. And bro, seriously, it gave me a beautiful insight into your perseverance. Yeah. And I was like, my friend Will Hart perseveres. He fights for. And it wasn't, it moved me. I don't think I've ever told you that, but it really moved me.
Thanks,
the rest of us were kind of hanging out with the rock star guy. And
I did all that. We did it all.
It was, we had fun. We ate well. Yeah. We all ate very well. Yeah. But it really moved me watching your persevering and we ministered, I think, to almost everybody there before it was over, even the cook, even the chef. I
still have his number.
Oh, do you really? Yeah. Man, he was amazing. But it so moved me, and I just want to tell you it, and I want to say this too for everybody, because it really was. She wasn't famous; nobody knew her, but he told us, the famous guy. So she interceded for me, and I would go through spiritual attacks where she would the next morning call me on the phone when they were children. Yeah, like she had almost spent her entire life interceding for her cousin, loving him, interceding for him. Yeah, nobody knew her, nobody, and it was like it was. But bro, I just want to tell you, I watched. I loved your perseverance. I love how you fought. It touched me. It moved me.
Thank you, dude.
And I don't think I've ever told you that.
No, I want
to make sure you know it now.
Oh, thanks, man.
It really was touched by that.
That whole experience was something new for me. I mean, listen, I've been around certain people. There's a caliber, right? There's a for sure. In the world, there's a tier level of A list, B list, C list. Yeah. That was, I'd ministered to a president before, but of not a big nation, like there's things like that. Sure. That was a big one for me as far as the experience. Cause I don't know about you, but I would like, Lord, put me in front of the most influential people. Yeah. And not because I wanted to be around them, but like you're dreaming the impossible with God. I learned so much from that situation. For those 3 days we spent, I learned so much about why was I praying those things. Yeah. And I also, in the year, because of that, I went back and I set some things in my heart. Like I saw some stuff even in my own heart that I didn't like when I was there. You get it. Like, yeah, like I saw some stuff in my heart that I need in my own life that I didn't. Yeah. I was like, man, Will, you weren't, you were intimidated or whatever it was, like sure. And I'm so grateful for that experience. But one of the fun thing was just being in that, not alone, but with brothers. Yeah, and hanging out with friends, and that was a first of many. Sure. Since then, and yeah, but I will never forget that. For me, one of the biggest challenges was not talking about it. Yeah, talk about. Like
I do too, yeah.
No, like this was me. Like this was my in my own flesh. Like I wanted to tell everybody.
Sure,
I just wanted to like, and I remember I started to, use it in a sermon illustration once, and the Lord just corrected me, and I'm like, but what it did is it set me up for some of the stuff that I get to do now. Yeah, and I love it. And like the crazy thing is. Being in Nashville, there's a lot of people around, but now I get to go at different times and meet with some of these people and see some of them. And it was because of that one thing. It kind of I worked through a lot of I don't even know what I'm talking about.
You process through and mature through it. And
I could actually care less.
Sure.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're people now.
Yeah. In fact, like I would rather just minister to other people.
I know. I know.
Like, but and I don't, I hope you get my heart. Like,
no, I do.
It's
for sure.
it lost its luster.
Yeah.
In the most beautiful way.
After
that, I still get intimidated. It's if I know them and like, or I grew up on their music, or like,
of course,
like then I get super nervous.
As I did with this person.
Yeah.
I was excited because I followed them.
Yeah.
And I liked them, and they were on my playlist on my
phone.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. It was last year, or the year before, I ministered to one of the most famous, or I got to meet one of the most famous football players in the world. And I, like, if you gun to my head, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah.
But I hate football. Like, I don't watch it.
Right.
So I didn't even know what he looked like. I thought one of his bodyguards was him. And it's different. Like, you can meet people that you know are well known, right? And but it's different if you grew up with them, or
sure.
Like, they're people. Like, I'm going to interview Mac Powell. Mac, you're coming on.
Yeah.
I'm going to interview Mac Powell. Do you know who Mac Powell is?
Oh yeah, sure,
okay,
of course.
Right.
Yeah.
You know
Third
who he
day.
is.
Yeah.
I know who he is. Most of the people that are the younger generation that watches my podcast has no clue.
idea.
I am more nervous about that. I'm legitimately, like, hopefully, I think next week is the plan. I am more nervous about that than
awesome.
any guest I've ever had on, because like he was the soundtrack of my salvation.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Set this place on fire.
Bro, he has the voice of 1,000 angels and he smells like butterscotch.
That's awesome.
He's like rich leather. Yeah.
Well, man, we've held you a long time, but this has been such a joy.
Oh, I love it. Love you,
I
Robby.
love being with you. I just love hanging, and you were you've just always been a good friend. I wish we would have hung out more.
Dude, we were so busy. We're just
I
running.
know we were always on the grind, always traveling, always on the road.
Can I just say one quick thing before we end?
Sure.
Maybe just to tie up where we started.
Yeah.
With the prophetics and the things that are going on. I would encourage everybody, and people are going to assign a person to what I'm saying, and I just want to encourage everybody, like, people aren't problems. Sin is the problem.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, people are people. Mm-hmm. And I have had to correct people. I've had to call out people, and I've had to push friends, very close friends, away in the past. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be known for what I'm against.
Right.
I want to be known for restoration. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean to a pulpit. That's not what I'm saying. Restoration unto the Lord. And I've just been processing a lot of the stuff that's going on. The thing that I've been battling with is I've watched some of this stuff fall apart around us.
Yeah.
Is trying to keep my heart in a place where I remember that Jesus restores, and people aren't the problem. The enemy is. Yeah. And people are promises, and trying to maintain my heart, keep my heart soft towards people, because he kept it towards me when I didn't deserve it.
Come on.
And but they were leaders, and they should. Yes, I agree. I agree. I totally agree. And I'll fight. I will get behind anybody and fight for any abuse. Like legitimate abuse, I will get behind. Anything legal, I will get behind, and I will fight. But man, it's like we can't just preach. We can't just preach justice, but forget the other things that Jesus told us to do with sinners, with those who strike us on a cheek, with we can't forget the foundations in the midst of it. And it's easy to point the finger and say, well, they forgot it and they misled it. And I would agree, and I would fight with you. But I know for me, when I've gone to the dark places in my own heart and asked questions, and I do my best to go back to that place. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just didn't want to leave that without.
Thank you for saying all that.
I want to clarify, because even recently somebody took my words way out of context. I have put people in. I have filed cases against people.
Yeah.
I have no problem putting someone in jail. Mm-hmm. There's still a person that Jesus loves and dies for.
Absolutely.
So I need you to hear my heart. Like, if there is
Sure.
illegal, I will fight for each and every victim. At the same time, there's still people, and for me, the hardest thing in the midst of the chaos is keeping my heart pure against the thoughts and the and
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing that, dude. Will you just close us in prayer?
Nope. I'm just kidding. I would love to. No, I would love to.
Just whatever you feel prompted to.
I just feel grateful that you didn't make me wear headphones.
Yeah,
Father,
you get released.
Father, in the name of Jesus,
Yes,
Lord, I just
Lord.
thank you. I just thank you, Lord,
Yes,
that you're
Lord.
drawing us closer to you, Lord, that you're shaping us, taking us, breaking us, molding us. And precious Jesus, I just ask that you would have your way
Yes, Lord.
in our lives, God, that you would continue to grow and build, Lord, that you would continue to pour out your kingdom through vessels, little vessels, God.
Yes, Jesus.
Little servants, God, through little mustard seeds, Lord, would you continue to pour out your kingdom through our little lives, Lord? And I thank you for Robby, Lord. I just thank you for a friend, and Lord, I ask that you would just continue to surround him, his family, God, Lord. I just ask over each and everyone watching this, Lord, that you would speak, bless, touch, and draw us closer in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
And watch Green Room.
You have this amazing podcast called Green Room, and you have like these incredible guests on there. And seriously, dude, I've watched so many of them.
Why? I mean, it's a good question. Thank you. Unsubscribe
Green Room. Yes,
to this,
please.
and watch the Green Room.
Watch the Green Room
Unsubscribe.
podcast.
Unsubscribe. I'm saying
unsubscribe
unsubscribe
to this.
Yeah.
Robby,
Do not unsubscribe.
No, I'm just kidding. Listen,
I'm so
Robby
humble and
loves
meek
me.
in heart that
Where
I
am
would allow you to say that on
Is it
my program.
This one, I'm totally joking. I love Robby. Subscribe, hit like, leave a comment, unless it's about me. and I've been watching, man.
Have
you've
you?
You've
Man.
had a couple of great episodes.
Bless
man.
you. A couple of good ones.
Yeah.
I'm glad there's a couple. This will be number 3 then.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Well, thank you. And as always, stay radical.
This week's podcast is brought to you by Robby Dawkins Ministries. Do you know someone who would be impacted by today's episode? Share it with them and let us know what they think. Subscribe or follow this podcast so you don't miss our next episode. You can also leave us a review, like, comment, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Until next time, stay radical.